Week 7 of college football is in the book, so let's take a look at what draft prospects helped their stock and hurt their stock. Welcome to the Stock Report, sponsored today by Underdog Fantasy. More on them a little bit later, but let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. And I'm starting with Friday night. We had Rutgers taking on Washington, and Denzel Boston, wide receiver for the Huskies, had himself a night. 5 receptions for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now you look at him, 6'4", 209. So it's like, okay, he's probably a big reception guy, but he's got some launch speed. Okay, so maybe he's one of these downfield contested catch guys. Yes, but he's more than that. And I think he's really starting to say, hey, I'm like a legit potential first round wide receiver in this class. And he really just showed that on the night. I mean, I think he opened up the night with, I think it was either his first or second reception was a 13-yard reception. So it's like, okay, nothing crazy, nothing big, but how he won, because it was a drag route or an over route where he had to go across the field, got the quick win out of his release, and he showed acceleration, good burst to create separation. But yeah, he's also a good contested catch guy. The first touchdown was a 23-yarder where I'm using the picture, the image in the overlay, but the corner, great coverage, hands in the face. Don't know how Boston saw this football, but he goes up and gets it. Then he had a 38-yard touchdown on the night where he just gave the defender the flyby and caught, essentially it looked like an underthrown ball. Maybe it was supposed to be towards the pylon, but regardless, just a good move. He's going downfield with the corner, uses the corner's momentum against him, and just hits him with the flyby, goodbye, second touchdown of the night. Man, he is a monster at the contested catch. I think this year he's 5 of 8 on contested catches, no drops on the season. So for me, I'm really settled on the top 3 guys when it comes to wide receiver. He's opening the door for wide receiver 4. I think he gets into discussion with guys like Chris Bell from Louisville or Chris Brazzell from Tennessee. But there is another guy I want to talk about, and we're going to get to that game right now. But before we get to that game, I got to talk about our friends at Underdog Fantasy. When you download the app, sign up using promo code BROSHMO. They match that first deposit up to $1,000. Redos is the best place for weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player stats. They got promos each and every day, and honestly, there's not a better way to play. So come play. Come on over here. Come play at Underdog Fantasy. When you do download the app, sign up with promo code BROSHMO. But as always, play responsibly, play within your means. Let's talk about Indiana versus Oregon. So let's talk about that other receiver. It's Elijah Sarratt out of Indiana. He's 6'2", 206 pounds, had a phenomenal game. 8 receptions for 121 yards and a tutty. He's got a great teammate there in Omar Cooper. Fernando Mendoza really has probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the country. I'm probably going to talk about Cooper when we get to my midseason wide receiver rankings, but let's talk about Sarratt, because to me, he's more than just a possession wide receiver, but he's one hell of a possession wide receiver. But he is more than that, because when he wants to, he can really turn on the accelerator out of his brakes and create immediate separation. He might not always be that long field threat. He's not, I won't call him the most athletically gifted wide receiver in this class, but he knows his strengths and he's very good at what he does. I mean, shoot, he's kind of a master of the back shoulder catch. It was money this whole game. I think he had 3 receptions that were just back shoulder targets of just a variety of different lengths down the field. I think his touchdown was a back shoulder as well. And he's going to be an interesting guy. He's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I could see him definitely somewhere maybe mid day 2. And shoot, if he falls to early day 3, that wouldn't shock me either. But I think his play says, nah, this guy for sure is a day 2 player. But he's not the only guy I want to talk about from this game. I want to talk about the linebacker Aiden Fisher, who was all over the place, all over the field. all over Eugene. He may have been at your local bar taking a play off or watching his offense march down the field, getting a pint before he heads back and plays hella good defense. 12 tackles, 6 defensive stops. That's a PFF metric, basically a tackle for loss or a tackle resulting in no gain. He had 3 pressures, had a sack. He's 6 foot, 232, so not necessarily the biggest cat out there. And I mean, by NFL standards, at least when it comes to that 230 range, that's kind of where the NFL's at on average when it comes to the linebacker position. You might want him a little bit taller and longer. It kind of is what it is, but he makes up for it by just playing the position exceptionally well, playing with unmatched urgency and just his pursuit, or whether it's on the blitz, because like I mentioned, 3 pressures, had a sack. I will say in terms of coverage in this game, he was definitely more of a minimal gain guy, which is a term I use all the time when it comes to linebackers. If they're not making a lot of splash plays, at least be a minimal gain guy where like, hey, if you're going to catch it on me, I'll let you have anywhere between 4 to 6 yards underneath, but those are the only yards you're getting. Don't expect to get anything after the catch. And he was kind of like that. He was targeted 5 times, allowed 5 receptions, but they only went for 25 yards. So that's at an average 5 yards per reception. So he's out there doing his job. Still probably firmly a day 3 guy, but more so in that early to mid day 3 area. We love the NFL draft, and now my draft guide is available for purchase. It comes with over 500 player backgrounds and close to 300 player evals. It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So when I add a new eval or I change my rankings, you're going to be the first to know. It's going to have all the pro day and combine numbers along with analytics, and it's a Google spreadsheet for right now. So you have to include your email with the purchase, but we will be switching over to a website at the end of the year. And if you get it now, it's going to be cheaper now than it will be later. It's a great way to support the channel. And as always, much appreciated, much obliged. Next, I want to head to my other watch along game, being Alabama versus Missouri and Damon Wilson II. I don't know if you're familiar with this cat. He's the edge out of Mizzou. We talked about his teammate earlier, maybe a week or so ago, in Zion Young. Wilson might be the more highly drafted player because he's playing really good football, coming in at 6'4", 250. He's got a good first step, good length. He was very disruptive in this game. 5 pressures, 2 sacks, had 2 defensive stops, had a pass rush win rate of 12%. And you might be like, well, that's not all that crazy in terms of a win rate. But this was against Alabama. This was against more of a, I don't want to call it a top tier offensive line because his offensive line is still kind of figuring it out. But he had to go toe to toe with Caden Proctor on a few. And I mean, a matter of fact, I would say Damon Wilson was usually who Alabama was targeting with their tight ends or with a running back in pass pro. He was the guy that they were chipping. So they were like, okay, well, we'll figure out Young, but let's take care of Wilson. Let's get him out of the game. And Zion Young had a pretty solid game in his own right. He started like the first drive with the yips. He had a offsides penalty. And I forgot what was the other thing where, oh man, I do recall him that whole drive just looking antsy, wanting to get off the line real quick. But let's talk about Wilson because it was a really good game. He had a monster sack where he was chipped by the tight end. Remember, I mentioned he was often chipped in this game, but then he just dipped under the right tackle and punished poor Ty Simpson, who Ty Simpson had an interesting day. And to be fair, we could talk real quick about the quarterbacks. I'll do that. I'll talk about the quarterbacks after I talk about Damon Wilson. But there was another play where he was chipped again by the tight end, but he then put on a long arm on Caden Proctor, and it kind of allowed him to see what was going on because Zion Young just smacks Ty Simpson from behind and he fumbles the ball. So since Wilson is kind of holding Proctor at bay, he's able to see what's going on. He's the first one to notice there's a fumble on the ground, and he gets the fumble recovery. So that was huge. Also, you had, and unfortunately, this ended up resulting in a big gain and eventually a touchdown later on the drive, but it was 4th and 8. And he was quick to get in and get pressure off of a stunt. He showed good change of direction, good lateral ability. However, freaking Ty Simpson hit a monster throw, put it where only his wide receiver can get it, because it was good coverage down the field. And I'm trying to remember which of his it wasn't Horton. It definitely wasn't Ryan Williams. It wasn't Bernard. It was their other guy there. Is it Ross? I can't remember off the top of my head. But Wilson is going to be fascinating. I think he's probably a top 75 guy. I don't know how high I'm going to put him tomorrow. I'm going to go through all the edge players and kind of figure out my rankings for that. I think it's the last position I'm wrapping up, and then I'm going to push out those mid-season rankings for you for the draft. But let's talk quickly about Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson still felt like he was feeling himself a little bit at times in this game. And I thought at times you saw him hold on to the ball for too long. Gojo, are you sleeping? Are you talking in your sleep, buddy? Come on, buddy. It's up down there barking, passed out. Wonder what he was dreaming about. Was he dreaming about Damon Wilson and Zion Young coming in and smacking the crap out of him? All in all, though, I think Simpson, he made a lot of good throws in this game, and he just feels like an all-time gamer. And we could go to the Oregon-Indiana game when it came to Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. Neither really looked that impressive, and I don't think either really. I was gonna say neither really did anything to jeopardize the game for either of their teams. I mean, Mendoza threw a pick six, which I think he threw off the back foot and kind of lofted it up a little bit. And then I think Moore had 2 interceptions. One was a batted ball, not really his fault. But I mean, that Oregon offense wasn't moving at all. Nothing was working. So neither of the quarterbacks I thought looked stellar. And that's kind of going to lead into the next player I want to talk about here. That being John Mateer, returning from the broken bone in his throwing hand. Probably 2 to 3 weeks too early. Had himself a mess of a game against Texas, where he went 20 of 38, for 202 yards, 3 interceptions, 37 rushing yards, and a fumble. It was a rough game for Mateer. I put the down arrow here because it just wasn't a good outing. He's going to have other opportunities to prove himself, because I do think he has just that it factor. And I don't really know how much of an issue the thumb really was. I mean, dude, it goes into gripping the ball, but it didn't look like his passes had anything less behind it. He took a lot of hits, not just as a runner, but they weren't afraid to run the football with them. So again, I don't know where that thumb exactly was at for Mateer, but things did look off, whether it be timing or anticipation. I mean, we could go through a little bit of the game for him, but his first pick looked like Mateer was expecting. It was the tight end Kinnick to basically jump in front, and Kinnick just kind of continued to work down the field. Malik Muhammad just had kind of an easy pick, but it was kind of a good pick on his part, because he had to come off of who he was covering. So like that, he was able to get his eyes around and notice, oh, okay, here comes the ball. Oh, wait, I can make a play on this. The second interception, I just didn't love. So you have Deion Burks running down the field on a post route, but Mateer has to scramble out. And I think for Burks, because I mean, there was, I think, a point in time where he could have had that ball if it got away earlier, but since Mateer was under pressure, he kind of had to scramble for a bit before he could really throw the ball downfield. It allowed, once again, Malik Muhammad to get down there and make a play. But I think Burks saw that Mateer was scrambling, so he went to go roll to that direction, rather than continue in the post, and Mateer threw the post. So just kind of wasn't great. He almost had a third. Well, eventually he did have a third interception, but he almost had another interception in this game on 3rd and 5, where it was just, he tried to force a ball that was well covered. And not only was it well covered, but he threw it behind. I think it was Zatania. So just not a good ball altogether. And then the third pick was just, it was I believe, way behind Satanga. He was either way in front or way behind. It was 3rd and 12. They were already down 17 at this point, so it was like kind of, we need to get it. We need to get something going. It would have been short anyway, but I mean, to give a little grace to Mateer, he was consistently under pressure in this game. Oklahoma's offensive line was not great. They lost their best offensive lineman, right tackle Derek Simmons, I think like 20 plays into the game. So it was a rough go, not just for Mateer, but for the offensive line. I think better days lay ahead. Again, maybe had to shake off some of the rust. Maybe some of that was the thumb, but I'm not out on Mateer. I want to stick with this game and talk about Malik Muhammad. I kind of went over his interceptions already. And it's kind of funny because last week I tried to solidify my corner rankings for the midseason, and I labeled Malik Muhammad as a returner. He's coming in at 6 foot. They say he's 188. I still feel like he looks thinner than that, but it is what it is. And kind of my big gripe with Muhammad was, I'd like to see more ball skills out of him. I don't think he gets the eyes around more times than not. And I feel like he should have more, whether it be interceptions or pass breakups, more splash plays in coverage. Well, he brought the splash plays this week. He just did. Like I mentioned on that first pick, he was able to see that the ball was going to Canuck. He comes off of his assignment and is able to get under and make a good catch. The other one on the post, again, it's like good. It was good for him to stick with it. Like he I don't want to say, I guess he kind of baits Mateer into that throw because he immediately sees the post breaking free and he just kind of stalks it and it ends up getting thrown and he's able to get it. Now, there's still somewhat more I want to see from Muhammad. I think he's still firmly in that day 2 range if he were to come out, but this was definitely a great game from him. He did allow 4 receptions, but that was on like 7 targets. So he did a hell of a job. I want to stick with the secondary because I want to go over Bishop Fitzgerald, safety out of USC. He's 5'11", 205. I think he looks a little bigger than that, but I think it's just because maybe he's got good length to him. He was formerly of, I believe, NC State. And before that, I think he was a community college guy. So someone who is really scraped and clawed to get to where he's at right now. Yeah. Spent 2 years at, I believe that's Coffeyville Community College. Goes to NC State for 2 years, and this is his first year. So yeah, good for him. But he ended up having 4 tackles, had 2 interceptions, a pressure, and a sack in this game. The pressure and the sack was on a blitz where he was just kind of screaming down from the blind side. And the running back in pass pro, he sees a stunt, so he goes to play the stunt and just fails to see stinking Fitzgerald coming in. Jaden Mayava, he saw it, tried to scramble away to no avail, unfortunately. No avail. The interceptions were more so right place, right time. I'm going to have to get into his tape and see how his other interceptions look because I think this is like his 5th interception on the year. But they were definitely right place, right time. I will say the first one was just playing the ball better than the receiver. It was a bit overthrown, but still a good job of being in the area. On the second one, I believe it was tipped. I think it was, no, it was overthrown, miscommunication or something, where he was just sitting there and was like, oh, look, I have a ball now. He did have one play versus the run, which I was kind of wondering if this might have been, if this is something that may be consistent with this tape, where he came in hot, undercut his angle to the ball carrier and allowed the running back to get to the outside. I did go back and it doesn't look like it's something he normally does. It was just probably a time where he was like, oh, I can make a play here. And it just didn't work out. I will say he is a little late or slow to turn and run from deep. Specifically, I think when trying to get outside of the hashes. So might be better suited to be a box safety in the NFL just because he plays the run really well. But just because of his interception total, I know it's a guy that people have been talking about. So we got to talk about David Bailey. I mean, we've been talking about David Bailey all season for the most part. We talked a little bit about his teammate, Romello Height, who also had a great game. Height had 8 pressures, a sack. I think he had a 28% pass rush win rate. Well, David Bailey had himself a day. 11 pressures, 4 defensive stops, 3 sacks. A win rate of 40.6% was utterly ludicrous. Now, definitely still undersized because, like, probably one of the only negative things I had to say about how he played in this game was, oh, man, he got driven 6-7 yards back by a double team. But also on that same play, someone forced a fumble loose, one of the safeties, and he fell on it. So it was like, oh, even in a negative play for him, he ends up making a not just a positive play, but a turnover. So yeah, I thought it was kind of wild, but dude, he annihilated Kansas and their offensive line. On the first drive, he just pelted the right tackle with strikes until that right tackle was in the lap of Jalen Daniels. Also, he had a nasty spin move for a sack that was near the end of the first half. There was another case where I don't know why Kansas did this. It was stupid, but they put a tight end on him. And when you put a tight end on David Bailey, that tight end's going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. He just wins quickly and he forces a fumble. Game changer. Also, there was a play where the left tackle gets just hit with the dip and rip, and it led to another sack. Yeah, David Bailey is him. He might not have necessarily ideal size, which that's going to be interesting, but he is explosive and twitchy to get all hell. This is a first-round player. But let's talk about an upset. Florida State upsetted by Pittsburgh. Let's go. Should have took Pittsburgh plus 10.5. Said I just didn't bet on the game. I had a feeling. But Desmond Reid, the running back for Pitt, I have a nasty little love affair for, I suppose. Listen, the size sucks. He's 5'6", 169. Everything in my head tells me this won't work at the NFL level. And I'm not saying I'd take this guy on day 1 or day 2. But we get to day 3 and I'm like, maybe you can do something with him. Make him an integral part of your running back room. He had 13 carries for 54 yards in this game, but where he really dealt the damage was 7 receptions for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's go over it. Now, the blocking wasn't there on this day, and for the most part, he just did a good job of following his blocks and not wasting time in the backfield, just taking what was given to him. But there were moments where I got the speed. I could bounce it outside and win the corner. Also showed off some of that change of direction just to kind of create something from nothing. But again, it's what he did in the passing game. He had a wheel route where he kind of used tempo to cause the defender to hesitate. And he just goes up and makes a really good catch on the 24-yard touchdown. He had a 50-yard reception where he was lined up in the slot, just went on a stick route, but he got the reception and just turned and ran like somebody was chasing him, because he was indeed being chased, but he's too fast. Yeah, he got upfield real quickly and just tore off a massive run after the catch there. Also, the 16-yard touchdown, it was an angle route where the QB was forced outside of structure, and I think he did a good job of seeing that the defender that was guarding him went in to put pressure on the quarterback, I suppose. So he just kind of put himself in a spot where, hey, I'm wide open. see me if you can. And the quarterback saw him, got a 16-yard touchdown out of that. So like I said, man, he's not going to be for everybody, but I think there's just so much playmaking ability there, especially in the return capacity. I'm willing to take a shot on him. And then let's wrap this sucker up talking about quarterbacks, because this quarterback class was supposed to be so much better than it currently looks. And I want to talk about LaNorris Sellers, quarterback out of South Carolina. We know why people love him. I know why I love him. Dude is built 6'3", 240. He's a phenomenal athlete. Rocket arm. I think he's way more put together than Anthony Richardson ever was. He has way more starts than Anthony Richardson ever had under his belt. Might even currently have more starts than Anthony Richardson. People that make that comp, they just look at the rocket arm, the athleticism, the build. Watch how they play as a quarterback. It's vastly different. But I will say, not a great game from him. While the blocking wasn't great, it really wasn't. It was really bad. I mean, even 3-man fronts were getting pressure on Sellers. While the blocking was bad, there were a lot of cases where I was like, man, I wish he kind of anticipated or got the ball away a little bit earlier. I will say they did use more design runs in this game. He had 17 carries for 74 yards, but as a passer, 15 of 29 for only 124 yards and an interception. And it all wasn't his fault, but I don't think he did much to help it. I mean, given how bad the offensive line was, his ability to turn something from nothing did shine a little bit here. But just as a passer, and I mean, let's just go ahead and put this out there. People are going to knock Nick Harbor's production. I think Nick Harbor, if you go look at the tape, is like, oh man, he's getting open. I just wish the ball would go his way more often. Like Harbor he was crossing the field, and if Sellers just kind of ignored or the linebacker in the hook zone, or was like, okay, well, that linebacker's going to sit there. Harbor's got to step on the guy covering him. Let me just put it out in front of him and have him go make a play, because not only is he fast, he's also huge at 6'5", 235. Instead, Sellers, he just threw a check down, to which could have been placed better, but also the running back dropped it. There was another case where Sellers was just late to get the ball out to a open Nick Harbor in the middle of the field. Pressure was just able to hit home. If he was able to get that out just a little sooner than the ball once it been tipped, kind of is what it is. There was also, he was forced to step in and vacate the pocket on a rollout, and it just kind of limited him to looking at the right third of the field. But if he was able to just kind of like peek over just to the middle of the field, he had a guy wide open. Granted, I think the receiver probably should have sat on his route a little bit earlier, because he was wide open for pretty early on in the route. But because of the pressure, Sellers, his vision just went like, where are my guys down here along the sideline? So that was a bit unfortunate. There was a time where he got pushed out of the pocket with Nick Harbor flying on a post, but Sellers opted to tuck it and run instead of making the off-platform throw, which, I don't know, you can't really maybe blame him for that. But man, if that pressure was there, dude, that's an easy pitch and catch for like 30 yards. There was another case with Harbor. He was open on a deep corner route on 2nd and 28, but the pocket collapsed so quickly, all he could do was tuck it and run for 10 yards. Still got 10 yards out of it, so it's pretty impressive. There was another tuck and run, but he had the running back wide open on a swing route. It was 3rd and 20, but I think if he goes to the running back, the running back probably has a better chance of making a guy or two miss, potentially get the first down. I don't know. It kind of is what it is. But dude, LSU on that play, this was a 3-man rush play where, man, I wish Sellers stepped into the pocket with the intention of trying to pass the ball, pass. But instead, he was like, okay, I got to get out of Dodge here. Also, I think you could kind of see in his head, hey, I've been taking way too many sacks. I need to be more decisive with what I'm going to do with the football when pressure hits. So I think maybe that was running through his head as well. But listen to this. Sellers was blitzed on 18 of 40 dropbacks. Of those 40 dropbacks, 26 times he was under pressure. That's ridiculous, man. He did have an interception where he was under pressure, didn't set his feet. He was already throwing to a really tight window and he just missed the window. Ball hanged a little bit. Safety was able to get under it. But it was a rough go. I don't blame Sellers if he ends up returning to school and maybe even transferring to somewhere that might be able to actually develop him, perhaps. Because there's a guy in there that can be something special. But that leaves the question with what quarterback's going to be available in this draft class? Is it going to be like last man standing? It's Ty Simpson? I don't think you're taking Ty Simpson first overall. Though Simpson, I think, is starting to make a argument to take him inside the top 20, the top 15. But go ahead, let me know in the comment section below who impressed you this week. Who are you looking forward to seeing this upcoming week in college football? Because golly, we got some hard-hitting matchups. Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama. The SEC, they're at that point in the schedule where every week they're going to have 2 to 3 to 4 just big-time showdowns. But let me know. Again, special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.